What is going on, everybody? It's Tuesday night. I'm on vacation. What am I doing here? This is ridiculous. Wow. All right. A lot to talk about tonight. We got the Western Canada that we're going to talk about tonight. Part 2 of our division breakdown here as we just continue to break down the Pacific Division. We got Calgary, we got Edmonton, we got Vancouver. So we're going to break them down tonight. A lot to talk about. Short span to do it. So let's get at it. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Tell your friends to do the same thing, and definitely hit that share button. Let's go, boys.
Oh my God! I'm embarrassed! You're flying!
Welcome in. It's almost time.
It's Happy Hour on A2D Radio. We're powered by the doc. That is Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC, with 2 locations in Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Check out our doc. Make them yours at specializedphysicaltherapy.com. We got people on vacation. We got Matt Sassuti is off this week on vacation. We got Brian Daly joining us from vacation. We got Brad Ryer coming off of his anniversary. Doing a lot to catch up on our top line, centered by yours truly, Rob Povia. A lot to get to tonight on the show. We're continuing our breakdown of the Pacific Division by dissecting the Edmonton Oilers, Calgary Flames, and Vancouver Canucks tonight. But first, we want to know which of these Canadian teams has the best chance to bring the cup back to Canada. Tonight's poll is brought to you by Bellagio's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, cutlets, tomato pie sandwiches, meatballs, anything your heart desires, anything your stomach desires. You mentioned A2D Radio. You get 10% off your in-store purchase. And the poll specifically tonight, the Edmonton Oilers have the best chance to bring the cup back to Canada. Agree or disagree? Let us hear you in the comments, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're joining us tonight. Let's start off with our boy on vacay. Down in North Carolina, is it, Brian?
Yes, sir. We're sitting right in we're in the Outer Banks. We're on Corolla Beach. We're 45 minutes from Nag's Head, which is where everybody tends to go. Which is why it's a little bit quieter up here. That's why I like it more. But yeah, so the poll, the Edmonton Oilers have the best chance to win the cup or bring the cup back to Canada. I think I have to agree with this. I mean, if you look at it right now, Vancouver is one of those teams that's kind of bordering that line of retool, rebuild, and contender. They got a funky roster that's filled with talent, and it's young talent, but they just can't seem to put it together.
Sure.
Calgary, I mean, their situation, we'll get into those 2 teams more specifically a little bit later on, but that's another team that's got some young talent that, the outsider for some reason refused to call up when they needed them. And, you got a new head coach. So Calgary's going to kind of probably be like a year or 2 away before they really become a cup contender again. But Toronto's cursed. Ottawa's still I consider them still in rebuild. Winnipeg's about to fall back into rebuild. So for me, I mean, Montreal's in rebuild, so they're kind of out. To me, it's got to be Edmonton, the only team right now that I think is built to win now. And yeah, they definitely have their flaws, but to me, with the curse in Toronto, it's got to be Edmonton right now.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, though. With the Edmonton Oilers, they have the most pieces in play right now. Now, we've had a lot of upheaval. Like when you've had a lot of roster fluctuation that the Calgary Flames have felt, over the past 2 seasons, it's hard to get any, solidarity there. But I think it'll be their opportunity to at least get into the playoffs, get back into that discussion in this upcoming season, as we'll break down for them later on the show. But ultimately, you got to go Edmonton Oilers. I agree with this poll as well, Brad. How about you? Are you feeling like any of these other guys could be dark horses?
Nah. Edmonton is kind of the slam dunk. I mean, they're right on the cusp right now. A little good luck, and they could have actually gotten to the finals. They just, they had bad luck. I thought that they played real well, and it just they give up too many ridiculous goals. That's got to stop if they want to win a cup. Defense travels in the end, as we all know. Offense doesn't necessarily, and you've got to be able to shut the other team down in a big spot. And you know what? Especially when you score and you take a lead, and then you give it right back, bang, bang, bang. It's just that can't happen, especially in the playoffs. And they just seem to do that. But you know what? They are by far the best team in Canada right now, and that includes the Leafs. Because I have no faith in the Leafs getting anywhere. They're just
Right.
They're just, and no matter what they do, they take one step forward and they always take two steps backwards. So,
yeah. The one dark horse that I could possibly think of, though, could be the Ottawa Senators. I mean, hopefully Claude Giroux back. They still have pieces in play there. I mean, I still think that Edmonton has a better chance at it, but certainly out of the three teams that we're talking about this evening, without a doubt, they got the best chance of bringing a cup back to Canada. But that being said, I mean, besides Toronto, I mean, Montreal's rebuilding. But ultimately they're going to have a lot of young talent too. If Edmonton continues doing the same script over and over again,
it's going to get to a point. It's going to get to a point where they're going to have to start trading their veterans and starting over again. Yeah, I mean that's, I think the next 2 years they got to win the cup in the next 2 years, or things are going to, unfortunately for them, they're going to have to change. They can't continue like this.
Right.
No, for me, to kind of build off what you just said here, Brad, like, it's getting to the point where I'm sure Connor and Leon are getting to the point where they're frustrated with how things are going, how things have come up with this organization, and the way the offense is built. This is a team built to win multiple Stanley Cups, but and I know we talk about it all the time. Defense has been subpar. Goaltending, they haven't had a good goaltender in a very long time. And that plays into everything. So now they rely a little bit heavier on the power play, which winds up being over 30% every year, because the 5-on-5, it doesn't play in their favor with how the roster's built.
Now, I'll tell you what, there's one name that could put a Stanley Cup in Edmonton. I don't know if it would happen, but there's one name, Connor Hellebuck. If they somehow are able to pry him away from Winnipeg, that could be the finishing piece, because that's the one guy that can definitely be a game changer.
And I could see that happening. I mean, Jets could be on a downswing this year and be one of the few teams that were in last year's playoffs and miss this year's playoffs. We'll get there when we get to the Central. But, if they're on the way down and you're getting closer to that trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, are they? If the first thing I think you got to know is what is going on with a couple of their veterans. Are they, are they gonna trade any of their goal scorers? Scheifele, is the most likely. Now we're hearing rumors about Scheifele going to the Rangers for Hedel. The last one I heard was ridiculous. Scheifele to the Rangers for Hedel, and who was it? The defenseman Braden Schneider. I was like, get the hell out of here! The Rangers can't be that dumb.
I mean,
that's too. You can't give them that much. A 22-year-old defenseman and a 20-year-old forward, a 24-year-old forward that's already scored 24 goals, and a defenseman who on any other team would probably be a number two, either a top four or possibly a top pairing defenseman who can drop the gloves with anybody. Come on, he's not, and he's 22 years old. You're not trading him.
Right.
Scheifele's 30 years old. I know he's in his prime, but we're not talking about a guy that's a top player in the league. He's just a very good player.
Yeah, but the problem is he's a top line player though too, so that's going to cost a little bit more. I mean, with Scheifele and Hellebuck both, I mean, they're both probably out at the deadline if they're out of the playoff picture.
You would think so.
Well, I mean, Hellebuck said he's not re-signing. Did I miss that? Or did I not read that correctly?
That's what I've heard
he
too.
said that. And then Scheifele, I think, says he wants out too. Blake Wheeler's already gone. Kyle Connor's already in his back end of 20 something. So
Yeah,
I mean,
Kyle,
this team is,
I mean, it's that's what I'm saying. If Winnipeg was willing to do business with another Canadian team, which obviously is tough to do, that would be kind of like it if you're looking at baseball guys. That would be like the Yankees doing business with Boston or the Mets.
Right.
You know, it's
yeah,
very hard. It's very hard emotionally for any of these Canadian teams to trade with each other, because if one team happens to get the fleece job, then it's a disaster for, with the media, because the media just won't stop rubbing it in.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're extra
Absolutely.
mean in Canada, guys, just
Absolutely.
in case. So yeah, I mean, for you fans out there that may or may not know, the Canadian press is brutal when it comes to hockey. They're like Philadelphia and New York are to all their sports teams, except they just do it with hockey.
Right. Let's get to some of these awesome comments. Tommy checking in, saying our hockey guys, I got to agree to this poll for sure. Yeah, I mean, they are the odds-on favorite, at least in terms of the Pacific Division getting in there, let alone being the overall Canadian team to bring that cup home. Absolutely. All of our awesome comments being brought to you by Gleason's Bar, located at 6700 Mill Creek Avenue in Levittown, PA. If you use the promo code A2D, you get 10% off your order whenever you dine in, take out, or order online at Gleason'sBarandSteaks.com.
Yeah, we got a lot of them rolling in tonight. This is kind of fun. Here's another one from Ryan. Here's Swoopy. What's up, Swoopy?
Edmonton is by far the best team in Canada, but they still won't bring it to Canada. Yeah, I mean, until you solve that defensive woes that have plagued this team, I mean, and I don't feel like you've quite done that this offseason. I mean, you take a look at their overall defense coming into the season, Matthias Ekholm, that'll help. Cody Cece's been, good defenseman for Ottawa Senator for years, right? Hasn't been as good, I think, with this Oilers team. So a little bit left to go, a little bit left, in regard to his defensive play. But it's all going to depend on, guys that have been with this organization for a while, Brian, right? Like Darnell Nurse, things of these guys. Like, are they going to be able to seal the creases in front of their netminder?
Well, that's the big question here, and it's been a question for a few years, and it's a big reason why their 5-on-5 numbers aren't as good as their special teams, because I don't think they're that good. They have some good players, and you have like you said, Darnell Nurse, a little overrated in my opinion. Cody Cece's kind of on the back end of his. Shay, come here. Hey, come here. Sorry, hang on. Come here. Come here.
Puppy
Say hi.
dog. Oh, hey, what's up?
It's my niece Shay.
Hi.
Hello.
My buddy's just saying hi. You can go. I knew that was going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
So Cody Cece's been the addition of Matthias Ekholm has been really, really good for the Edmonton Oilers. So I agree with that, and signing him to the contract that they did, I thought was really good for them as well. I think he's going to help solidify the play of Darnell Nurse and hopefully solidify a little bit more of that defense for that goaltending to really start to take shape, because Jack Campbell's not a terrible goalie. We saw it in Toronto. He can put up numbers. So if that defense can come together, I think Edmonton could make another deep run into the playoffs.
Yeah, because I did like what I saw at points, or especially early on in the playoffs, from Stuart Skinner as well. So, I mean, I still think he's got to be in the mix here. But in the end, though, it kind of disappointed me in their playoff run. He crumpled under the pressure. You saw as those lights got bigger. So, yeah, you bring in a guy like Jack Campbell, who's been there and done that, but he, too, has also failed. So it's, I mean, to me, I'm still rooting for Skinner there in that position, but it remains to be seen who will ultimately carry this team between the pipes.
That's going to be the key. And again, the trade deadline could be, and that's why we had to mention the Winnipeg Jets, because they're probably going to be going south this winter. And, they're the three guys that we mentioned before obviously are huge players that could absolutely have a big effect on what goes on in Edmonton and wherever else some of these guys get traded. God forbid if Hellebuck gets traded to the Devils. I mean, that's another God forbid kind of situation. Yeah, that would you want to see me like hide in a hole for the Stanley Cup playoffs? I might have to if that ever happened.
I mean, this
You mean
comment here,
both.
yeah, this comment from Chrome here is kind of essentially what we're talking about. But he wants to know if we think that they have the goaltending to make a legitimate run, and that's kind of what we're touching base on here. Chrome is that, and because like Campbell's solid, Skinner's been solid. It's just being able to find a way to put it all together in the playoffs. I think that's a part of the issue.
You can't have one soft goal a game,
right?
In the playoffs. You just, I mean, as well as they seem to play, even in the playoffs, they'll make great saves, but it always seems like when Edmonton, in their losses, especially, there always seems to be one goal that you sit there and you're like, I think he could have had that. That just...
I know that feeling right now.
Yeah, it's that head shaker goal.
Gibson, yeah, Gibson's been putting up a lot of those. But, I mean, also to build off of that a little bit more is, we've seen subpar goaltending win Stanley Cups lately. I mean, Aiden Hill, example number one. He's an AHL starter at best, in my opinion, but you put a good defense out in front, anything can happen. And the same thing goes for Edmonton, which is why I'm saying I like the Matthias move. I think putting him with Darnell Nurse could make Darnell Nurse a better player. It's just building the depth from there. And I honestly, at the moment, I don't think they have it. But yeah, it's a long season. Things can change. Bouchard's been okay. Broberg, I think, got traded last year, if I saw that correctly. Hang on, let me pull up their roster real quick. I actually have it right.
Richard just signed a long-term contract, didn't he?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And then you
He's
have yeah, go ahead, Robbie.
Yeah, he's not on at least their active roster according to NHL.com.
Yeah, I just pulled it up. So Bouchard is there. I don't see Broberg. So Broberg must have got traded at the deadline last year, but
that's what I mean.
I mean, not a ton of depth there.
Right.
Not a ton of depth there.
Absolutely. Yeah, it becomes a depth situation defensively, but let's face facts, guys. This team is carried by their offense. When you have two of the most elite players in the league with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, who often gets outshined by McJesus up there, and he may even be the better player. But I think what was great, or at least in terms of had the Oilers take that next step and help them get past the Kings last year in the playoffs, was their depth of scoring and bringing in Evander Kane, who you could say what you want about what you think about him off the ice, but on the ice showed that he could still deposit the puck back in the net.
Yeah, and his toughness and grittiness is also badly needed on that team as well.
Sure.
Yeah, it's definitely been a breath of fresh air for not just the Oilers, but for Evander Kane himself, who desperately needed something to kind of fall his way with all the bad luck he's had through Buffalo and Winnipeg and San Jose. So to land in Edmonton and have things kind of fall into place for him a little bit, I'm sure has kind of helped him out a little bit. And apparently he's playing beer league right now too, which is actually really, really funny. I saw some stuff about him playing beer league in was it in Edmonton? Sorry, I got a bug on me. But it's fun to see. I mean, you kind of see that he's starting to enjoy the game again, and I think that's a big thing for him.
When his mind is right, he is a very good player. I mean, he really is. I mean, and I think he is a big reason why Edmonton is up front one of the best teams in the league, if not, having the best forward group in the league. When you're headline, I don't know about their depth though, guys, in the fourth line, third line. I mean, do they have is that? Do you think that's kind of a problem? Couldn't they do a little bit better defensively with maybe a checking line.
I think so. I mean, I'm looking at left wing locks, projected lines as of this current offseason, actually. McDavid centering Nugent Hopkins and Hyman on the top line, Draisaitl with Kane and Brown, McLeod with Fogle and Ryan, and then Peterson with Holloway and Janmark. Yeah, I think you have a little light there. I mean, you look at Holloway, 6'1", 203. Peterson, what's he rocking? 6 foot 192. Yeah, this is more of an energy. Yeah, Janmark 6'1", 205. This is more of like an energy checking line than any sort of brute, like type of fourth line that I think you're talking about, Brad, that can seriously help you defensively. Maybe pot in a goal here and there, but certainly don't do not allow the opposition to take liberties with your top stars.
Yeah, I just kind of wonder if they're good enough defensively. That's because you gotta have some of that. I think that's very important. I know this, when St. Louis won the Stanley Cup, they had that. Okay, in Colorado maybe not as much, but St. Louis sure as hell did. And last year, Vegas definitely had some toughness at the in the back end of their team. I just don't know if Edmonton has enough of that.
Right.
When things need to be shut down, do they have a line out there they can go out and shut the other team down in a big spot, kill a penalty, that kind of thing? Because it just seems like that's always been a problem for them.
Well, I think that's a part of the reason why they brought in a guy like Sam Gagner on a PTO, is to kind of put him in that center, because he's a little bit more of a lockdown center, more of a two-way player. He does have the scoring upside, but he is pretty solid on the defensive side. So maybe that's something they do, is if he makes the team, is put him on the fourth line and center, possibly move Holloway to the wing, and then
I think he's a good fit if he can still play.
Oh, he can.
Sure.
Oh, he can definitely still play.
Yeah, if he could still play at a high level,
Yeah.
Because I've always liked him as a player myself. I mean, I wouldn't have mind seeing him on the fourth line for the Rangers. He's a pretty darn good team.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, excuse me, he's a pretty darn good player. How many cups of the?
I'm looking that up now.
Dominic Duel.
I'm not.
Oh, go ahead.
Go, Robbie.
Oh, just while you were looking that, if you got that information up, hit them up or whatever. I was going to respond to Joe's comment before about preseason hockey in like 3 weeks, maybe like a month. We got training camps opening between like September 14th to September 21st. And then you start getting some preseason hockey there in 3 weeks leading up to the opening night. But it's not too far away. Not too far away.
Too far away as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, Dan, we're gonna need you to elaborate on that comment. I'm not getting anything on Google. I'm not exactly sure what the Dominic Duel is, but definitely feel free to continue to comment in. I saw you had another question down here. If my laptop would work and let me scroll. My laptop's apparently on vacation too. It wants to know, when is the last time Edmonton won a cup?
89-90.
The last of that dynasty, pretty much. I mean, they got there in 2008. Was it? Or no.
06.
2006. Yeah, it was the year before the Ducks won, because Pronger was there, and then he went to the Ducks, and they won in 07. Yeah, so they were there in 06, but didn't win it.
Two big stars. How many cups of the one over guys to get the points on the Edmonton Oilers? Gretzky and Messier? Is that who you're talking about? I don't know.
If he's talking about what Gretzky and Messier together, they won 10 Stanley Cups?
I think so.
Messier has 6 and Gretzky has 4. If that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, because didn't Gretzky go over in the final year that Edmonton won. He went over to LA that year, 89, 90.
Yeah. Messier won Messier won two more. He won the one in 89, 90 when Gretzky left, and then he won one with the Rangers.
Yeah. All right. So instead of Robbie asking us all the questions, I got some questions for you guys. All right. Let me pull them up. Where'd they go? Sorry, I got so many windows open right now. All right. So just a couple things here real quick. We'll go over the key additions real fast. And you brought up a couple of them. Connor Brown, Matthias Ekholm, and for me, Sam Gagner on the PTO. And we kind of explained why. Here's my thing. So with the way the roster is right now, do we think that the Oilers can finally figure out how to win games, even strength over the power play? Like, is there a way that they can finally do that and not have to worry about having their power play over 30% every year?
I feel you got some depth players here, and I think there's the good even strength 5-on-5 talent, that can really help, at least improve that area. That I'm not too worried about with this team. I think I expect it to be a little bit more of a complete team when they hit the ice in 23, 24.
Yeah. Brad, what do you think, man?
I mean, I think they've got a solid team. I like the fact that they have Ekholm on their team now. I think that's going to make a big difference. I mean, obviously they got him from the Predators, and having him in the off season in training camp and going into the season, that's and him being there for a while now, so he can really adjust. I think he's going to make a difference. That would be a major help. So I look, they're a good team. I mean, they're loaded with talent. They've got to back check better. I think it's going to be on the forwards. If they can't make any moves, okay, let's just say they can't. It's going to be on the forwards to just back check better. I mean, they've got to learn to do that better. Whether it's coaching or whether the players just decide that they're fast. They're certainly fast enough, and playing defense is a mindset in the NHL. You know that for all these forwards. If they want to play good defense, they can play good defense. They don't have to stand at the red line and whistle and say, yo, get the puck up here. Get back there, get a little sandpaper on you and start playing harder in your own zone. I mean, that's something that I think they're going to have to do. And, they're going to have to be willing to really, really do it. Look at that. You take a look at a team like Dallas, okay? They don't have nearly as many stars as the Oilers. They don't have the kind of players the Oilers do. But in their own zone, they play tough in their own zone, and they look like a team that is completely involved defensively. And I don't know that Edmonton just has that attitude, and they need it really bad, especially in their own zone. If they can get that, and carry it over to the playoffs, nobody's going to be able to beat them. But that's what it's going to take. They're going to have to be more intense in their own end.
Right.
They've got the talent to do it. And Nurse has to step up. I mean, he has to. He has to be the guy that they thought he was going to be when they signed him to that big contract. It's time for him to step up and put his big boy pants on. He's been playing like a nerd for how many years now? When's that going to stop already?
So I know we put to move on real quick here because we gotta start moving here a little bit. Now, what do you guys think of head coach Jay Woodcroft? I mean, do you think that his system is working for them? I obviously we see the offense, scoring a lot of points, but just be a little. Let's dive a little deeper here. Do we think that this system is actually working? We know that Draisaitl can score. We know Nugent Hopkins can score. Kane, McDavid. We know what those guys can do and how insanely talented they are. 5-on-5. Do we think this is a good system for the Oilers to win a cup? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't know if it is. I mean, if you look at the talent on this team, if you look at the roster, they probably should have won 3 by now. I mean, I know we harp on the defense and the goaltending, but
systems at fault too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Brian. I do.
I think they could. I think a coaching change may happen in the middle of the season if they don't start playing better defensively.
It's not out of the
if they
realm
get
of
off to a slow
possibility.
start, if they get off to a slow
agree.
start and they're struggling to be in the playoffs and not running away with that division, things could happen because there's only so long that you can expect McDavid and Draisaitl to stay on this team and not say, "Hey, I've had enough."
Yeah.
You guys can't get it right here. I mean, and especially a guy like Draisaitl, I often wonder with him. He's such a great player that maybe he might deep down want to be might want to have his own team and not be, and not share the limelight with McDavid because he kind of gets overlooked a little bit.
Agreed. Robbie,
At least I think he does. I mean, you really have to wonder.
Yeah. Robbie, what are you thinking, bud?
Overall for this team, I don't think there's a system failure 5-on-5, sure, right? But they've gotten better talent to help make. So I want to keep a little bit of room for improvement, and I think you can get that this year. It's just going to be tough because you didn't really, you could have you could have had a better offseason, in my opinion, right? I think down the road there's some promise because overall, especially defensively, I did like their first draft pick this year in Bo Aki, defenseman there. That was probably their best pick of the draft overall. So draft average, maybe C, maybe a low B, but Aki really can help this team. He's a very talented young defenseman. But of course that's going to be at least 2 seasons down the road. I would say a very young player, but ultimately, it's going to come down to, can these guys carry out his system 5-on-5, and can they do a better job in the tight areas and the dirty areas? And I think you've gotten guys that don't blow you away offensively, right, this offseason, but maybe like a little couple character guys that can help out. I just wish that they were a little bit more active. I'm not familiar with their cap situation. I just wish they were a little bit more active, filling some of those holes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me pull that up real quick. I actually have it right in front of me. So they currently sit at they are over the cap by just shy of $400,000.
Right.
So they're up against it, but I've seen worse with teams that are rebuilding, believe it or not. So it's good. They're not in a terrible situation financially. So, I guess that's something for them to really benefit from, I guess, right? But
they could send somebody to down to the minor leagues, just to the AHL, just for a couple of games to get under the cap if they had to.
Sure.
Yeah, and they got Sam Gagner on the PTO, and they signed somebody else to a PTO. I'm not 100% sure on who that was, but odds are it's going to be one of those two guys making the roster. And to me, that edge is Sam Gagner, because he's the better two-way player. And to Brad's point earlier, Sam Gagner is the guy who's going to back check and play the two-way game.
Yeah.
And I think he's a really good player to help Dylan Holloway become a better player as he's playing. I think it's either his first or it's his sophomore full season for the Edmonton Oilers.
Yes, sir. All right, boys. Any parting shots on the Oilers before we wrap up the first period?
Don't mess it up.
I think I'm good.
Cool.
Don't mess it up.
All right, I put it to you this way. All right, let me ask you. What's that?
Do it this year, guys. They've got to get to the finals. There's no more excuses.
True. Where do you see them finishing in the Pacific? Any predictions before we move on?
They should run away with that division.
Yeah.
Where do I have them finishing? I have them finishing fourth with 101 points.
So fourth overall for the West?
Fourth overall for the Pacific.
You have them finishing fourth in the Pacific? Interesting. Wow, that's a very running away versus fourth. Wow.
I have the top 5 relatively close. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be a division to walk on.
Right.
And to go back even to last week when we were talking about essentially, the guys in teams in California, minus San Jose. I got the Knights in first with 111. I got the Kings in second with 106. And then I have the Ducks finishing in dead last with 68 points, which is more than they had last year.
Right. Yeah, it's got to go somewhere. It's definitely got to go somewhere.
I think that Golden Knights are going to get off to a very slow start. I think the Stanley Cup haze and the hangover is going to be a problem for them. That's why I think Edmonton runs away with it. I would think that they'd be extremely hungry this year and should get off. If they get off to a good start, I expect them to run away with it. I think Vegas knows they don't have to come in first place to win the Stanley Cup. I think they are fully aware of that.
Absolutely.
Once you win the cup, it doesn't matter where you finish in the regular season, right?
Pretty much. You know what? Sometimes I like playing back. You know what I mean? Saving your best hockey for when it counts, right?
For sure.
Yeah. But I think they will narrowly take first in the Pacific over the Kings. I think they'll finish with the third best record behind Colorado and Dallas. I think both of them in the Central will have a better record if you're talking 1 through 8, but it'll get Edmonton a stronger wild card opponent. Could be a team that's narrowly, outside of Canada, maybe a little outside Seattle. We'll get to them probably next week, but I ultimately think they'll be in good position to make a run. And again, it's just going to be, the same story. How well do you play defense? How well do you play between the pipes? Our Edmonton Oilers breakdown was being brought to you by eXp Realty. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, or if you're looking for a change in career or brokerage, contact Alan Foy of eXp Realty LLC at 302-682-8820 or visit him at Alan Foy at exprealty.com. So, boys, this one's going to be interesting. Let's move on to these Calgary Flames.
Just real quick, Maddie's chiming in.
Nice.
Maddie's making a rare Facebook appearance. Look at him. Get him. Go ahead, Maddie. It's saying, hey, brothers, wish I was there with you guys tonight. I'm going to disagree until Edmonton proves they can play solid defense and have solid goaltending and stop being a two-man show. I have my doubts.
It is a fair point. It sounds like he'd be siding with you closer to that fourth in the Pacific, Mark. I just, when you have two elite guys, I mean, we've seen like what Ovi and Ovechkin have done for the Washington Capitals. You kind of see a little similarity there,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, Maddie, always miss you. Hopefully be back next week with us. But you look at the Calgary Flames, though. I mean, like we said, a lot of roster upheaval over the last 2 seasons. Where do you boys see them faring out this year?
Boy, that's a tough one. I mean, they have a lot of talent. I mean, there's no question about that. They played some real stupid hockey in the last month of the season. I mean, they should have been contenders this past season. Even though they lost some guys, they still were able to fortify their team. Should have been better.
Yeah, they should have been. And you know what? A lot of that, I'll be honest with you, Brad, has a lot to do with.
Was it the coach?
Sutter.
Yeah, I think so. I think he just didn't want to play for him.
Yeah, Dan, we're not in Canada, bro. These two guys next to me, they're in New Jersey. I'm in North Carolina. We ain't reporters either, bro. Just so you know. We're doing what we do because we love talking hockey. So it's all opinion based. That's all we do, man. You don't have to agree with us. That's why the station's called Agree to Disagree. If you haven't liked it, you should go like it. You should subscribe to it. We're here to debate. We're here to talk sports. We're here to talk hockey. So nobody's right, nobody's wrong. State your opinion, and that's it. That's all. State your opinion. That is. If you don't like it, take a hike. All right. So as far as hold up. What do you mean we don't know what we're talking about? You're just joining us for the first time. We've been doing this for 8 years, cuz. Where have you been? We've been doing this for 8 years. Where you been? You're just joining us now for the first time. We don't know what we're talking about? Listen, here's a fact for you. The NHL playoffs are the most unpredictable bracket in any sport. Any team can win. Did you think that in 2015 the Kings were going to win being 8 seed? No, because nobody did.
Right.
Nobody saw.
Did you
that
think
coming.
Columbus was going to sweep Tampa Bay in the playoffs when Tampa Bay had 130 points?
Nope.
Just asking for a friend.
Here's the thing. We are here to talk hockey. We're not here to be right or to be wrong. This is a preseason breakdown. That's all it is. We're breaking down what Edmonton did in the offseason and how they can be better. That's all we're doing.
Dude's a troll, man. His first couple comments, I had to get my Hookman Phonics dictionary out to read them. Didn't know how to spell. So first learn how to spell, and then we'll learn how to report for you.
Yeah. Hey, man, like I said, this is your first time. We've been here for 8 years. Mm-hmm. So you can troll all you want.
Oh, I love it. It means
we're reaching back.
The reach of A2D is so far. Like you get these. So yeah, let's move on.
That's great. All right. Let's move on. All right. So back to.
He actually thinks we're from Canada. That's pretty cool. Well, okay. Canadians do love hockey.
Head.
That's for sure.
Hold up. What do you mean we got to be realistic? We are being realistic. They're the best team in Canada. What are you talking about? They're most likely to win a cup. Nobody's saying they are going to win the cup. We're asking if they are the best team in Canada to bring back a cup. That's what the question is. Nobody's saying that they're going to win the cup. I didn't say that. I don't know about you guys.
I think it's because we started talking that Calgary may struggle. This might be a battle of the Alberta. That's why he might be a strong Calgary fan. And
hey, if you're a Calgary fan, this is perfect for him because we're about to talk about them.
Yeah.
But Daryl Sutter, I'm telling you, he was a problem last year. Players didn't like playing for him. Now that he's gone, I think you're going to see a different, more resilient team. I think you're going to see Jonathan Huberdeau really take off and really rebound to the player that he was in Florida. Because he wasn't that player in Calgary in his first year. Right. But, we'll see what happens. There's a lot of young talent on this roster as well. Jacob Pelletier, he to me is one of the top guys in that prospect pool. And I thought he played fairly well a little bit in Calgary last year, but I don't think he really lit the world on fire. And Jacob Markstrom has to be better. He has to be better. He was not good last year. Just not good last year. Calgary, I see them on the brink. I see them falling short ultimately, but I think they're going to be good for 97 points this year under new head coach Ryan Huska.
That sounds about right. You look at the Flames, okay? They seem to be very strong on the left-hand side, okay? They don't seem to be all that strong on the right-hand side. You got their top players, what, Mangiapane? Did I pronounce that right?
Oh, Mangiapane.
Yeah, okay. I have trouble with that guy, but he's a goal scorer. He should have scored more than 17 goals last year. Let's be honest. Okay, he's better than that. The year before that, he was better. He's got to step it up. Huberdeau has to step it up too, and if those two guys do step it up, they're going to have a better. Sharon Goich from the Devils, that should really help them. He's going to add some speed that they didn't have last year, especially down the middle, and I would think that that's going to make a big difference for them as well. So, look, the Flames are the Flames. They're a big, strong team. If they decide that they want to use their bodies and play big and play physical, they got enough guys to put the puck in the net and they can get into the playoffs. But that's what's going to have to happen. And Kadri's going to have to play better too. Let's be honest, okay? he's going to have to score a lot more than he did last year. They need offense from him.
Hi, Joe. That would be me. Just because it's fun. I want everybody to see that this clown has no idea what the hell he's talking about because he's stuck in 1985 apparently, talking about Wayne Gretzky when it's 2023 and Gretzky's not even in the league anymore. Hasn't been in the league for like what 20 years, 23 years.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying, Joe. It's making him look like an ass. That's all. But anyway, continue, fellas.
Getting back to Mangiapane, I pronounced it right this time. He had 35 goals 2 years ago. The last year, 17. He's got to get back to that 35 level again. I don't know if it's because Gaudreau isn't on the team. I don't know, or Tkachuk. I don't know. But he's got to get back to that again.
I think a lot of that, again, has to come back to Daryl Sutter. And I realize that kind of sounds condescending or I don't want to say condescending. It sounds kind of hypocritical because he did have the 35 under Sutter, but half that team gave up on him. Half the team asked for a trade because they don't want Daryl Sutter there anymore. So, again, let's see what happens.
There's something to that. That there's definitely something to that. But you look at the Flames roster, almost all their guys, they have a very big team. I mean, I'm just looking at how the size of some of these guys. They're big. If they get back to that checking, hitting style, they should be in good shape. I kind of their defense, especially. You look at guys like Lyle and Tanev. Okay, these are big guys. No reason why they shouldn't be smacking guys around and playing better defensively. And the goaltending wasn't good enough either last year. So I think you might be right about the coaching because that team, if that team was playing well, there's no reason why they wouldn't make the playoffs. They've got enough talent to make the playoffs in that division. You mean there's too many teams that are rebuilding in that division for them to be as bad as they were last year.
I agree.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, Calgary Flames. I mean, I was looking through up and down their roster. I mean, like in terms of coming into this season, again, it's kind of similar to Edmonton, though, in terms of do you guys put any stake in Markstrom being the answer between the pipes?
I think he just had a bad year. I think he'll bounce back.
You think he'll bounce back?
Yeah. He's 33 years old. Okay, for a goalie, that's getting up there, but that shouldn't be over the hill for a goalie. Goalies usually are good till they're about 35, 36. Okay, usually when they get older, they get it in their early 30s. They usually are better because they know the shooters and they know better at putting down the ankle and they kind of know what's going to happen before it happens. That's important for a goalie. For whatever reason, last year he was not as good as he should have been. I think he bounces back, and he's going to have to if the Flames want to contend this year.
I agree. And then you got Dan Vladar playing fairly well behind him. He's going to be coming for a starting spot. So if Markstrom really wants to get this team deep into the playoffs or even back to the playoffs, he's going to have to step up. He's not going to really have much of a choice because otherwise Vladar's going to swoop in and start taking his playing time.
Yes, he is.
I would not blame them.
Guys, is Noah Hannafin going to be on this team this season? Haven't they been actively trying to trade him all summer?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is going on with him? Do they not like him, or is he making too much money? I'm asking because I don't understand why they want to get rid of him so bad. But every article I read about the Flames, Noah Hannafin hasn't been traded yet. It seems to start with, and it's like, why are they want to trade him so badly?
I think it's just maximizing on his value right now in terms of where they are as an organization. Recently, I've heard him linked to Columbus, and that could be a possible good fit. But Hannafin's always been, I don't know, pretty solid defender. I don't know what went wrong there in Calgary, but a lot has gone wrong recently.
Yeah,
poor Dylan.
Right, you don't just trade a guy that's 6'3", 207 pounds.
Right.
And plays defense and is mean and has an edge. You just don't. I don't get that. Why would you want to trade a guy like that? That's a guy you want to build around, right?
Yeah, he hasn't really been playing up to his contract either. I mean, he's had it down a couple years. I know Dylan's saying that he's getting paid and playing a top pairing, but he's not a top pair defenseman anymore.
Okay.
Again, it's just he's not living up to his contract from what I understand, and he's they want to move him to try and free up some cap space and bring some value back. But I think he gets moved at the deadline. I think he starts it with the Calgary Flames, but I don't think he's there. I don't think he's there come February or March or whenever they decide to set the deadline. I don't know what it is this year yet.
And they also have a guy, Nikita Zadorov, who's a beast. What is going on with him? The guy scored 14 goals last year as a defenseman. It was a +10. That guy's 6'6", 250 pounds. I mean, the guy's a beast. There's too many good players on this team for them to be as bad as they were last year.
Again,
I mean, I think they definitely did the right thing by getting rid of their coach. Most definitely. There's some, I don't know, maybe he's Andre Miller in disguise. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, man who gets 40 points, but every time he's on the ice, you're terrorized because something bad's going to happen. I don't know. Maybe that's it.
Could be.
Seems like a lot of repositioning, organizationally. As they kind of go through a transitional phase right now. I mean, you got some talent defensively. I mean, Mackenzie Weegar is no slouch.
No, he's a good player. He's a good player. He was part of the Tkachuk trade. I mean, that guy is a good defenseman.
Right.
He's a legitimate top 4 defenseman.
Yeah, not necessarily a top defenseman. I think that's what maybe they're trying to build to acquire or to, maybe build up from their prospect ranks because, that would be the only reason why you want to trade. Like, I'm trying to get into the psyche too there, Brad. Like, why would
I didn't say top pairing. I said top 4.
Right. I know you said top 4. Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I don't think he could be that guy. You know what I mean?
Oh, you don't think he's a top? You don't think he can be a good second pairing defenseman?
No, he could be a good second pairing defenseman. I don't think he can be a top defense. You know what I mean? So that's why it's like if you're going to try to move like a Hannafin, and the other defenseman that you mentioned, you better have a plan in place because I don't see Weegar as being that replacement. Tanev, I think you were speaking of.
Yeah, Tanev's another one. Yeah.
And then there's Robbie Anderson.
Tanev is old though. Tanev is getting old, so I can.
Yeah.
Man, don't forget about Robbie Anderson too. Robbie Anderson is a solid top 4 defenseman too. He's a guy that they're big on, and him and Weegar on the second pairing could be dangerous, and I think that's a part of the reason why they want to get rid of Noah Hannafin is because he's playing at that second pairing level, and they know they don't really have anything else to put in that spot. So why not move him and get somebody that contract off the books?
Sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
they got Sharangovich now too. Sharangovich is good and he's fast, and they really needed some speed. I mean, I know a lot of people are congratulating the Devils on getting what's his name, the guy Toffoli from them for Sharangovich, but I think Calgary's going to get the better of that trade. Sharangovich is 25 years old. It's been around for a long time. I don't know how much he has. I know he had a pretty good year last year. I get that, but I don't know how well he fits in on a team like the Devils. You got all that speed, and then you got like a turtle going in the middle there. I'm not sure about that.
I mean, Sharangovich will be fine. He's going to probably more than likely play on the third line for the Calgary Flames.
He'll do well if he plays on the third line. If he can play on the third line, okay, he's going to score a lot of goals because I think he's a better player than that.
Yeah, and he'll be stuck on the third line just because of how the roster's built, and there's a lot of talent on that roster. Really, I know it's a broken record right now, but that's what it is. It's a talented roster, and Sharangovich at 25 years old, he's a solid player. They wanted to get some depth on offense, and that's part of the reason why they got, and a little bit younger. That's why they got rid of Toffoli. But I mean, we'll see what happens. I think he's an upgrade from Toffoli in a lot of ways, and he's more of a middle six, bottom six style of player.
Sure,
I think he's going to fit in nicely.
I think on a good team, I think you're right. On a good team, he is a third line player, but he could be a second line player on there. He could be in the top six.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, second unit power play kind of player.
Hope you guys aren't hearing all the noise that I'm hearing. This is kind of crazy going on here right now. Like, I don't know I hear stuff going on from inside. I hear stuff going on outside. I don't know what's going on. This is a lot of noise.
No, you're in a beach community.
Like, I don't even know what this is. It sounds like construction. And then everything else is just from inside. So,
okay,
it's all good.
Yeah, we have to keep the windows closed and the doors closed so that we don't hear. We have a bar down the street.
Oh man,
where I live, so I have to keep the windows and because people do get a little loud.
Oh, this is all strictly residential. Everything else is from where we are.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I'm facing the front of the house, or facing out from the front of the house. So if you go out this way and you go left down a few blocks and then you bang a right, you're back out on the main road. That's where everything is. We're kind of tucked back a little bit. So this is all just housing right here.
We're like right in the middle. Like there's like you got Atlantic Avenue is in front of us with a bunch of restaurants, and then behind us is the movie theater and a bar. So it gets a little and the restaurants play loud music at night, so it gets a little loud down here.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially on the weekends.
Dan, I believe it was 1993. The Montreal Canadiens won the Stanley Cup. It was the last Canadian team to win.
1992-93, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
92 was Pittsburgh, and then 94 was the Rangers.
Yeah, 92 was Pittsburgh. 93 was the Canadians, right?
Yep. And then 94 was the
Rangers.
Yep. That was the last Canadian team to win a cup, and that was also when Gary Bettman took over.
Yeah.
He's still going.
But yeah, what? He may be in trouble because he's not doing a very good job making money and increasing viewership for this league. Signing that contract with ESPN may have been the dumbest thing he's ever done. Because ESPN has lost a lot of their viewership, unfortunately.
Yeah, and they just lost Brian Boucher too. Brian Boucher actually just left ESPN to go to TNT, so he'll be on TNT starting in October, which is good for him. I think he's better than ESPN. Like I agree with you though. I don't like the ESPN contract. Not a big fan of the coverage. Like
they just don't care about hockey.
They don't. It's on the back burner. But they want all the sports.
Yeah, it's like. They have sports, and they just have sports just to say, "Hey, we have sports," and that especially when it comes to hockey, and I find that extremely annoying. TNT, they have real guys who really know the game. I don't think that that announcer Sean McDonough is terrible. I mean, how do you have him announcing Stanley Cup final games or even playoff games? And he's so biased, it's ridiculous.
He really said oh man, he really said the league was going to go bankrupt.
Yeah, okay, it's going to go bankrupt. you're going to go bankrupt with comments like that.
Homie, it's past your bedtime. It's past your bedtime. It's time to go take a nap. Robbie, what are some of your thoughts on the Calgary Flames here, bud?
Well, I wanted to go back quickly, actually, to Joe's comment that he had earlier as a quick aside about the Flyers, because you don't want to talk about the Flyers.
Of course.
Do you think the Flyers could be a playoff team prior to the Russians' arrival? I do, and it's going to be like it's encouraging. I was listening to Rob Ellis talk to Al Morgani. If you haven't, you can always check out Rob Ellis' show. It went down earlier today on any of our platforms or wherever you download your podcast, as well as the Hockey Happy Hour once we wrap up tonight. But he was talking with Al, and he goes, it's encouraging that Mitchkov really wants to come over here, really wants to come and play for the Flyers too, and that it's going to be less politics than you think. But there's still, he has to finish his contract currently that he's playing under, right? Fedotov looks promising though. So I think it will be sooner than later with these Russian arrivals. But I like the maturation of Tyson Forrester. If the Flyers could just work out an entry-level deal with Cutter, I think that would be helpful, because that's another key asset, another big dog that could be in this pipeline, right? But currently, with the shot in the arm with guys that you're getting back this year, and Sean Couturier and Cam Atkinson, we talked a little bit last week, about how big Atkinson can be an asset for your team.
He's huge.
Actually, that was 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry, not last week. 2 weeks ago when we were talking.
Yeah, if you take a look at Columbus when he was on that team, when he was healthy and playing, Columbus's record compared to when he wasn't, you'd be astounded at the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do think this team could be a very fringe playoff team even before the Russians' arrival. What's your guys' take?
I can't see that happening. It's not that I'm anti-Flyers, okay? I can't see it happening unless they, after this season, if they play their cards right and they can pick up a couple of really good free agents, and then maybe they can get to that point, and then when the Russians come, they'll be just deadly. But
they need that Russian connection for this team to be in there.
I think they need to find a big time star next summer. Okay, after the season, they're gonna have salary cap space. They need to find that star, the right star, not just any star, but the right star to come down here and play and not be afraid of the fans and not be afraid of the whole situation. Come in here and take charge, and get your 80, 90 points. And then when the Russians come, that'll put them over the top and get into the playoffs. And then they'll be, looking at getting that window back open again. But it's going to be tough, because don't forget, these kids have to play, and
right.
You're going to go through a lot of ups and downs with these kids, because that's kind of what happens. So yeah, you got to give them a chance. This year, you want to see them be very competitive all year. You don't want to see any 10-game losing streaks. You want to see any long losing streaks. You want to see them when they have a bad game, come back the next night and play well and get through it. That's what they need to start doing. And definitely having Atkinson and Couturier on the team should be a big help in that department. But I just think they need a little bit more right now.
Well, I think Zach Anderson's really backing you up there, Brad. He goes 100% of Cam Atkinson and 80% of Sean Couturier adds 5 to 10 wins. Not enough to get to the playoffs. Unfortunately, I see Sean Couturier similar to Ryan Kessler, great two-way forward, but after back injuries was never the same. And that is a possibility, Zach. That is definitely a possibility. But I'm also speaking to the younger talent that we've seen on this team, Wade Allison and Owen Tippett and Morgan Frost, hopefully get him inked and in camp on time, right? Joel Farabee, big time regression last year, but maybe he takes a step forward. There's a lot of talent. Bobby Brink, who we haven't even seen on this level yet, who brings a collegiate scoring touch, as well as Tyson Forrester that I mentioned before. There's other guys. I'm just saying that the leadership that Couturier could bring and Cam Atkinson's, scoreability, might sneak him in there. I'm not saying this year, but maybe in the next year or two. Sean Couturier has a lot to prove, though, with that back. I agree.
Oh, for sure. And to kind of build off yet rebuttal a little bit what Brad said, I think having a full year under Torts now, you know the expectation. You know what you're walking into for Cam. I think that's going to make things a lot easier. Where I agree, Cam Atkinson is definitely going to help, especially with some of the younger guys because he's a talker. You see him on the bench. He's always talking to somebody. Same thing with Sean Couturier. Couturier has a little bit to prove with his back, absolutely, which is kind of why I believe he was loaned to Russia. Don't know if he's still over there, but I know he went over there to play a little bit. So that should help get him into game shape and ready for training camp. But as far as like these young cats, I agree. You got to get Cutter under contract, but there's something going on there. I don't know what it is, but he wants to go play another year in college, which is fine. But I think there's a little bit of friction there that's kind of holding him up a little bit. I can't wait for Brink to come back. I think Joel Farabee's going to have a monster year going into his age 23 season. So I think he's going to have a massive season. Konechny, you want to see him have another monster year like he did last year.
And we haven't even talked TK at all.
Yeah. And even to build off of what Brad said about the losses. Yeah. I mean, you're going to have some losing streaks here and there, but if you can minimize them to like maybe 4 or 5 games, we're about to get a thunderstorm. You minimize that, and I'm a big advocate of wins and losses don't matter for at least this next season as well. Got to compete, win or loss. Got to make sure that even if you get beat badly, like Brad was saying, rebound the next game. Even with it wind up being a win, you got to be in it. And I thought we saw a lot of that last year where, they would get beat, but they would rebound the next game. Maybe not get the win, but they look like they played better. Sure. So that to me is for them. Like don't necessarily need the Russians, but put it together.
Right. And and to finalize that a reference to the Al Morgani interview earlier today on the Rob Ellis show, he talked about that this team has been much more competitive already in terms of not just getting blown out of the games. Lights out.
Hey, look at the games. Look at the games against the Rangers. I mean, they're how competitive they were. Two of the games, the Rangers had to beat them twice in overtime.
Right.
If you remember, they won the game at the Garden. They won in overtime.
Right.
And then the game in Philly, I mean, Tarasenko scored that goal, and I mean that was a long goal that should have been stopped, but quite frankly, but I mean, they gave the Rangers pretty tough time those 3 games for sure.
Yeah. It was not the blowouts that we saw 2 years ago when you just saw the team quitting. It wasn't that like you saw a team quitting.
Yeah, it wasn't like that 1-9-0 game. That was terrible the way they played that game.
Oh, terrible. Horrible. That's exactly the game.
I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was they played badly though.
Right.
I mean,
all right, let's pull it back to the Calgary.
They should have started a fight when that happened.
Yeah, they should have. But let's get back to the Calgary Flames because we do want to get the show on the road. We do definitely have to get to our third team on the agenda tonight, and that is the Vancouver Canucks. But offensively, I think this team is going to be fine. I think you lose Toffoli's goal scoring ability, but Brad, you gave a great point. Sheriff, the kid they got from the Devils, Sharon Govich, Igor. I think he, can really, help replace that offensive scoring touch on the top line with Dubé and Lindholm. I think Nazem Kadri, I think, is a great asset for this team on that second line, as well as Mikhail Backlund and Blake Coleman. I think this team is built for depth still. Definitely got to see a little bit more solidifying underneath the coach regime. But ultimately, the point I'm getting to is that I could see this team finishing 5th in the Pacific, but yet get that second wild card. And what that would mean is that both wild cards come from the Pacific Division. Little foreshadowing to when we get to Seattle. I think Seattle gets back in there as well. but I don't think this team is quite talented enough to make a deep run in the playoffs. But I do think there's enough depth on this team, and another year underneath, this new coach, full season, full camp, where they can creep into the playoffs. What say you, boys?
I agree with you 100%. I think that they can sneak in at the 4. I don't know about 5 teams making the playoffs in this division, but that might be pushing it. I think the Central's a little bit better than that, so it's going to be tough for that to happen. But I think it's going to be 4. I think it's going to be 4 and 4. I see the Flames in the playoffs. I think they're the 4th team. Edmonton. I see Edmonton, obviously, LA and Vegas in there. Not necessarily in this order, okay, but I see those 4 teams from the West.
Yeah, I see Nashville falling off. That would be the only team that I would think. I see Nashville and Winnipeg falling off. That's the only reason why I'm saying Seattle and Calgary get there along with those 3 teams.
I don't know about Nashville. Nashville's got pretty. Nashville. I mean, I like Soros. I mean, they got good goaltending, and I think that could push them over. They still play well defensively. I mean, they had a lot of injuries last year on the back line. I think they're going to be a better team this year than they were last year.
Sure.
I mean, they did lose Ryan Johansson and Matthew Duchene, so that could.
And they traded Ekholm, at the deadline.
So we'll see in time. But as far as Calgary goes, I think the only way they get in is if somebody from the Central falls. Otherwise, I have them finishing 5th in the division. I think they're definitely a fringe team, in my opinion. I think this new head coach is going to have a lot to prove early on, and I think they're going to buy into the system quickly because I believe he is from their AHL coaching circle, so he's familiar with a lot of the younger guys. So
you're right.
For me, that's gonna pay huge dividends for especially the younger guys coming up, and It's going to be easier for some of the older guys to buy in because Craig Conroy, who is big with the Calgary Flames, bought in to Ryan Huska, and I think that's going to make it easier for the players to buy in as well.
Well said, Brad. All right, brother. Wrapping up our second period in our Calgary talk is All Campus, home of the A2D Ramp Booth, and they're giving 20% off everything in their store, including their hats, shirts, and their team cornhole sets to all of the subscribers. Go visit All Campus. Go down the shore. You see a little vacation vibe over here from Brian. Get yourself down, Ocean City. Go visit All Campus. Your boy John Coyle there. Take care of you. All right, boys. Time to talk a little Vancouver Canucks action. A lot of upheaval here. Who are they building this team around? That's what it's all going to come about.
No, for sure. It's a tough situation in Vancouver. I think it's similar to where Nashville is, or not Nashville, Calgary. And, it's a team that doesn't quite know where they're going. I don't know if they're going to burn it to the ground or, maybe you try another year for the playoffs. And I think this is another similar situation where Vancouver finds themselves to be similar to Calgary here is, sorry, I'm starting to get tired, so I'm rambling. It's Rick Tocchet, first full season with Rick Tocchet. So now some of these players already know what to expect, but now you're going into a first full season. You're going to have a little bit more of an understanding of what the expectation is. You're going to know, you don't know what his training camp is going to be like yet, but you know what he's already going to expect. So that's going to pay dividends to a lot of the guys who are coming back from the roster to begin with. But, this team has a lot of players getting ready to have expiring contracts. So now you're playing a game of who stays, who goes, where are we going from here? And I think a lot of those answers, obviously we're going to get these answers as the season progresses, but is it going to be, if we don't make the playoffs again, let's just blow it up? Or is it going to be, maybe we'll just add pieces here and there, or let's,
Well, it all starts with
try and go and win it now.
It starts with Peterson and Miller. What's going to happen with them?
Yeah, I'd put Quinn Hughes into that conversation as well.
Well, he's young and he's not going to go anywhere. You know, he's still pretty young. So I don't, he's probably, they'll make sure they keep him. He hasn't been around long enough for him to run away. Sorry about that.
It's good to know the time, though. That's why.
Yeah, I accidentally
That's just good radio.
I accidentally touched my watch, and
this chair is not comfortable, by the way. You see me bouncing, that's why. This chair is not comfortable. I'm sitting in a full wooden chair. But yeah, I mean, like I agree. Like they're both young players, but you know, you got to get. And this is where I fully agree with Zach. This comment right here. Demko's got to get back to shape. That's going to be a big part of their success moving forward. But I agree with you, Brad. You know, you got Peterson, you got GT Miller. GT Miller, they're trying to shop, so I don't think he's completely bought into what they're trying to do. So that's kind of where I threw Quinn Hughes out there. You know, he's your top defensive guy. You just got rid of Oliver Ekman-Larsson. You brought in a couple guys here and there. Maybe it's time you do blow it up. And I agree with him. They're probably not going to burn it to the ground. But, I mean, you got two guys in Hughes and Pedersen. Maybe that's something you strongly consider because they're still relatively young. You can get through a rebuild with them if you do it properly.
Yeah.
And you do it
I
really
say do it. Burn it to the ground. You bring in a new coach. You start from scratch. You know, you got guys that you could get assets for here. And you know, do a full on rebuild.
Well, you trade Peterson, you're gonna get a huge haul.
Yeah,
a young player like that with who's a really good offensive player.
No, you don't trade Elias Peterson. He's gonna be part of that future. But I mean, if you look at the guys that they brought in this offseason, player wise, they kind of went into the bargain bin. Free Sutter.
Yeah, they did some dumpster diving for sure.
Ian Cole, I mean, he's a solid defenseman, but Ian Cole's in that category. Carson Soucy, he's a solid defenseman as well, but he's still a bargain. I thought he was a bargain deal. So
Anthony Beauvillier is another one that was good 3-4 years ago and hasn't shown anything the last couple of years with the Islanders.
He's on the last year of his deal anyway. He's probably going to be a trade piece.
They went and brought in Kravtsov, who was the loser Russian the Rangers drafted a few years ago as a first round pick. One of their major mistakes. They actually drafted him number 8 in the first round. How do you like that for a mistake?
He's not even on the roster.
Oh, he's not on the roster now? Well, that's even worse now for him.
No,
I'm just looking at their roster right now, and you know, other than Peters, Quinn, and Miller, I mean, really, there's Demko's got to step it up. I don't see enough on this team to really. I mean, I like Connor Garland, always have. Bear's okay, but the rest of the team there's just not enough there.
Kuzmenko's all right player. I like Kuzmenko.
He's okay. I mean,
is he a top line winger? I don't think so, but he's a solid player. I'd be fine with him on my second or third line.
Yeah, he'll probably play second line wing.
Yeah.
I mean, Kuzmenko had a solid year. So the thing we also have to remember about him, I think he's like 22.
Yeah.
You also still have Vladdy Podkolzin. I can never say his name right. Podkolzin. Yeah. I always get tongue-tied. And
Pookie. Let's just call him Pookie.
Okay, I'll call him Pookie. That's fine with me. And then Niles Hoglander, another really strong young centerman.
Yeah, he is. He can play center or wing.
Winger. Sorry, yeah. Winger. You know, there's young talent here. There's young talent here. It's just a matter of trying to find a veterans to kind of piece it all together and finding the right head coach and the right and the right system for this team to kind of piece everything together. And we'll see if Tocchet is the guy to do it. Like I said, this is going to be their first full season. I'm holding the expectations a little bit lower than normal for the Vancouver Canucks for that reason. But I thought they played a little bit better under Rick Tocchet's system at the end of last season.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll see. I mean, we'll see. Because, I mean, like, I talked, you remember me talking about Toc as being the next Flyers head coach, and instead they went Torch or whatever. So here's going to show what he can do with a team. And I get what you're saying, Brian. You know, Elias Peterson is only 24 years of age. And don't I use that same, you know, rationale for why the Flyers should stick with Carter Hart and being a 24-year-old? So how can I be a flip-flopper and not say that for Peterson? I'm just saying that you could get a lot and really build this team the way you know Tocchet envisions it. But the thing of it is can Peterson be that guy that really spearheads his system?
No,
he had 102 points last year. I mean, the guy was tremendous. And by the way, that Kuzmenko that you just talked about had 39 goals last year. So he is absolutely a first line player. Look, their first line, obviously, you got Peterson 39 goals, JT Miller 32, Kuzmenko 39. Okay, there's not too many teams in the NHL that have a first line with three guys that have over 30 goals. That's very impressive. But the rest of the team, there's just not. I mean, Garland is okay. I kind of like him, but Beauvillier, not the answer, and the rest of their guys really just have to kind of get it going. There's just not a lot of proven talent there, especially offensively.
So they're top heavy. Their top line's heavy.
Yeah, they've got a good first. They've got a real good first line. The question is, are they gonna keep it there, or are they going to break it up and try to put other guys on and benefit from that? So let's not forget they traded Besser. That was their big trade last year. So he's not on the team anymore. So they're going to miss some offense there.
You're thinking about Horvat.
Yeah. Horvat, not Besser. Yeah, they traded Horvat. That was a big offensive player that they got rid of. So I just don't know if it's going to be there for Vancouver. I don't see that making the playoffs. It's just too much going on there right now.
No, and I agree with you. I don't think they are a playoff team by any stretch. I think they still have a lot to figure out. But I do think if they can do this right and do it quickly, you don't really miss any time with Peterson or Hughes or Potty or any of the other guys that you're worried about possibly losing time with. And I have to look a little bit deeper into this team to look at their prospect pool, but I'm sure they have a few guys down there that they're ready to bring up, that could be ready to bring up. Here's the one thing I want to talk to you boys about real quick is, and I kind of overlooked this before. So a possibility that maybe he does get moved, and again, strictly just for conversation purposes here. So Elias Pettersson is going into a contract year. He's making 7.35, and he's an RFA after the season is done.
He's going to end up getting $10 million if he has another season like he did last year.
Well, that was going to be my question. How much more is he going to see? How much more is he going to make?
By $10 million a year.
Can Vancouver afford it?
I don't think
they can afford it. They can afford it.
You think so?
They're $5 million over the cap
one of the richest franchises in the NHL. They're not money wise. They're fine.
They're $5 million over the cap as we speak right now.
Oh, cap wise, you mean? Oh, I thought you meant like can they afford to money wise do it?
Yeah.
They're going to have to make some changes at the end of the season. That's maybe that's why they're considering trading Miller. If I were them, you got to keep Peterson. You cannot let him go. I mean, 100-point guys do not grow on trees. That's not a guy that you can let go.
Yeah, that's fair. You could sell like a Kuzmenko all coming off a 39 goal scoring year, because looking back at his SKA for St. Petersburg stats, you're talking about, in 45 to 57 games, he's a 20 goal scorer, 18 goal scorer. So, you double that, like, I don't know how much he can repeat this. That's my only point.
I see. I kind of get what you're saying. So maybe instead of trying to sell Peterson, maybe you sell Kuzmenko, who's coming off a great year and who could possibly get you a nice return off of that season instead of Peterson. Pay Peterson
Possibly.
And get the. I don't want to necessarily say guarantee, but you get the proven player over the guy who's coming off of essentially a flashy rookie year.
Right.
I could see that potentially being a thing. I could see that happening, honestly. So the thing about Kuzmenko is making $5.5 a year for the next 2 years, and then he becomes a UFA.
Right.
Whereas,
yeah, but he's reasonably priced, so you can keep him though. But you get a lot more for him.
Right. But here's the thing: Peterson's an RFA. So you either sign him or trade him, or you go through the complications of an offer sheet. At least with Kuzmenko, it's cut and dry. You're either going to sign him or you're not.
Right.
Yeah.
So which
27 too. He's a little older.
Mm-hmm.
Rookie.
So maybe you do sell off Kuzmenko a little sooner.
Right.
Maybe he's the option instead of going after Peterson. You hold on to Peterson and you get rid of Kuzmenko. Sell them high off of that value.
Right.
I think that might be a better option for them.
I mean, if you should go that route, I mean, he could be. Maybe you want to pair them up, and he does build off of his KHL years, and his game translates well to this. There's a lot of question marks where this team can go. That's for certain. How about in goal? Let's look at him in between the pipes.
Demko?
Yeah, because there's been a lot of support for Demko in the chat.
Mm-hmm. Zach Anderson throwing out the comment. Demko is great as well.
So Demko last season, 14-14. Believe it or not, four overtime losses. 3.16 goals against average. And a save percentage of .901 with one shutout. That's not real. That's not real great, guys. Right. I know their defense wasn't all that good, but that's got to be a little better.
Let me go back to the year before. What did he do the year before?
Well, he was a lot better the year before. We know that.
I mean, to Rob's point about Jacob Markstrom when we were talking about Calgary, every goalie's going to have a down year. Doesn't mean he's not great, but does he need to be better? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's gonna have to do better than that. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's not good anymore. I'm just saying he's got to be better than that. That's just not good enough. Yeah. Why did he only play 32 games? Was he injured last year? Was that a problem? He did miss some time. Okay, so maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah.
Maybe he just never could find his game the way he's accustomed to it. So
still in the prime, 27 years of age as well.
I think he's going to be okay. I mean, the defense
good rebound candidate, real good rebound candidate.
Yeah, if the defense can put it together in front of him, I think he's going to be just fine. I think he's been just fine on worse teams too, which is actually really funny.
Yeah, I think I just saw they have Ian Cole on that team defensively.
Mm-hmm. Yep, just sign him in the offseason.
Yeah, that'll help. That'll definitely help.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he'll definitely help. I just said his name. What the hell is his name? Carson Soucy is definitely gonna help as well. And then Philip Fronek, who I think they got at the trade deadline last year, from Detroit, should help as well.
Yeah. He's coming off an injured season, so I mean, he could be a good rebound candidate, depending on what his health situation is currently.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Indeed you do. Indeed you do. All right, boys. So where would this team land when all is said and done at the end of the season?
I don't have them very good. I'm not gonna lie.
I have them in sixth.
I have them in sixth too. I have them with 88 points on the season.
Yeah, I don't even think they get that high. I think they're going to be right. They're going to be right around 80, 78, 80.
Right when I was about to say we're all on the same page, Brad's got to disagree with something. I love it.
Womp, womp.
I love it. I love it. It's good talk, baby. But yeah, I agree with the sixth place, and I think it's going to be a very rocky start for Talk.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. They're very top heavy. They just don't have any depth at all.
Right.
I definitely don't disagree there.
Yeah, that to me seems to be the big problem with them.
Can they surprise?
No, you never know. That's why they play the games.
Right.
Maybe somebody steps up, but I don't think so. It says here no.
I mean, all right. So just to be that guy, they are coming off a season where they did have 83 points. So you're saying that Vancouver's going to backtrack a little bit?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I mean, I can see it happening. They didn't really go out and really get any.
Who do they get to replace Horvat? You're going to miss those goals, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
who's going to get the extra ice time that's going to that's going to score all those goals? I don't see anybody on that roster that's going to get his ice time and score and be that big an effect. I think they're going to go. I think they're going to get worse before they get better.
I mean, GT Miller, Elias Pettersson is probably going to play center at some point. Teddy Bluger, who they got, I think they signed him this past offseason. Could see some time.
But he's
Sutter.
Honestly, he doesn't do anything for me.
I mean, I agree. I mean, it's no one's going to replace Bo Horvat, but you got to work with what you got.
Yeah, I know.
I think they're going to be fine. I think your first line center is probably going to wind up being Elias Pettersson or JT Miller. Your second line center is probably going to wind up being Teddy Bluger. And then you got Sheldon Dries, who's probably going to be probably be your third or fourth line center. And Jack Studnicka might be your third line center.
Yeah, Teddy Bluger. Teddy Bluger, though, is your number 2 center, though. Yeesh.
I mean, let's just
split up. I think your team's better than this team, honestly.
I mean, do you split up JT Miller and Elias Peterson?
Yeah, I think you have to.
You put them on your 1 and 2,
except on the power play. On the power play, you play them together.
Okay. Well, then there's your 1 and 2.
Yeah, you have to, because you can't have a one-line team. If you have a one-line team, you're doomed to failure.
No, I agree. I totally agree. Well, then we agree there. Then that those two need to be split up. Maybe you have JT Miller, Brock Besser, and
just on
on your first.
On the power play, you play them together.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, because that's different. We're 5-on-5. You can't have them together.
No,
it's too easy to stop. It's too easy to stop a one-line team, unless you're just as bad.
Yeah, and again, I agree. So then you make your first line Brock Besser, JT Miller, Andrei Kusemenko. Your second line will probably be Connor Garland, Elias Pettersson, and maybe either Anthony Beauvillier or Niels Hoglander. So
I would hope for their sake it's Hoglander. Beauvillier has really tailed off the last couple of years.
I mean, that's what you're looking at right now.
He had that quick jump right when they made the trade, though. All of a sudden, he was looking like the better player for a little bit, and then that quickly went to shit.
He did. He did.
Yeah.
What up, Greg? Sorry I missed you while you were in town, brother. Hope you had a good night watching the Phils.
Go figure. He comes to town when I leave it.
Right. You never see you two in the same place at the same time. I'm starting to wonder. It's like Superman.
Seriously, I go to North Carolina. I mean, I leave North Carolina. He leaves for Florida. I go back to Jersey. He's still in Florida.
You're
come
his
down to
Bruce
North Carolina.
Banner. He's
By the way, guys,
your Bruce Banner.
Oh,
I don't know
boy.
if you guys get the hockey package, but on MSG, they have the Flyers and Islanders in a playoff game in 1980.
Ooh, good times.
Yep.
I can't get it down here anyway.
I do get that.
You should check it out because
I'll
it's
toss
pretty
that
cool
on.
to see Ben Wilson and Bossy and Morrow, and
Cool.
there's pushing and shoving, and there's the Flyers bench.
Nice. Well, I'll read the third period sponsor. We'll get into overtime or the shootout, so that way we can get to see this game. I like the way that sounds. Third period sponsor was brought to you by FanUp. It's the best way to enjoy fantasy sports. Daily MLB contests and NFL, NBA, and NHL soon enough. Win great prizes. Sign up today. Use promo code A2D for 5,000 bonus points. That's a $50 value at fanup.app. All right, boys. Shootout time. You know the drill. As we've been breaking down these teams in the Metro and now the Pacific Division, we give our top 5 players all time for each organization. So starting with you, Brad, top 5 all-time Oilers.
Well, that's kind of easy. Gretzky, Coffey, Curry, Glenn Anderson, Grant Fuhr.
Messier not on the list. I love it.
Nope, Messier's on the Rangers list.
Gotcha.
We pretend he didn't play in Edmonton.
Brian, who's your top 5?
I got Gretzky, Messier, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Yari Curry.
All right. I like it. I kind of infused old and new together, and I left Paul Coffey off. I didn't want to, but I did. Number 1, the great one, sure. Number 2, I got Connor McDavid right behind him. I think one day he could, we could be talking about him chasing the scoring record like Ovi is in this current age. 3, I got Messier, though. I do have Messier on my Edmonton Oilers list. Sorry there, Brad. Number 4, I got Yari Curry. And number 5, I got Leon Draisaitl.
You and I are thinking a
I can't
lot
put
of the
them
same
up there
different
because
places.
they haven't won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, but
That's
there's
the
no
only
denying
reason I
that
left them
greatness.
off.
Hey, it's a good reason. It's a good reason. Apparently, Dan is saying that talking about points is pointless if you can't win a cup. So,
Well, he should be happy with my picks then. But he'll complain. He'll complain.
These are all our all-time favorites,
right
in the Oilers. That's the key thing, or at least that's how I'm using it.
and those still in the chat, definitely drop yours right in there, and I'll make sure I post them up.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like, are you going to put Paul Coffey down as one of the great Penguins? No. Would a Penguin fan put Paul Coffey as one of the great Penguins because he did win? I think he won 1 or 2 Stanley Cups with the Penguins. I can't remember now.
You might not like my Vancouver list then. Oh,
Nice.
man.
Nice. All right, let's move on to the Flames. Start with you, Brian. Your top 5 Flames.
All right, so let's go with number 1. Yari Curry. Wow. Whoops. Jerome McGinley. We're going to go number 2 with Theron Fleury. Number 3, we're going to go Al McInnes, which I did not realize that he played 800 games with the Calgary Flames before going to St. Louis.
See?
I did not realize. I knew he was there before, but I did not realize he was there that long. Number 4, I got current GM Craig Conroy. And at number 5, I got to put defenseman Phil Housley.
Phil Housley. Nice. That's a good name.
Yeah.
Damn good name. Brad, what you got?
Lanny McDonald, Theo Fleury, Jerome McGinley, Kiprusoff, and McGinnis.
Nice. That's a solid list. I think I got Fleury too low. And I was like, man, I don't know. I was like, I have to get him in on this list, but I got Theo at 5. I got Mark Giordano at 4. I got Mika Kiprusoff at 3. 2 Al McGinnis, and then 1 Jerome McGinley.
Okay. I like that list.
Oh yeah. We left out Joe Newendike.
Yeah.
It was a tough list. It was a tough list to create. because there were a few guys on this list that you guys have mentioned that I was like, I probably should have, but where do I put them?
Yeah, because Joe Nieuwendyk was a great player when he was with Calgary.
He was, and I wanted to put Lanny
when he went to the island, not the Islanders. When he went to the Devils, it just kind of ruined it.
Agreed.
Like I immediately had to take him off any kind of list. It's just a Devils thing.
Oh man, the hate for the Devils is real. It's almost like Maddie's still here.
That's funny.
What's up, Nate? Nate chiming in.
I love the way it's simmer. The Wayne train. Hell yeah.
Yo, y'all check out Nate Money Moss on the Money Pot podcast on Sunday mornings. Football season's around the corner. You want to win some extra cash? Check out my man Nate. He'll definitely get you guys all hooked up. He's going to tell you what plays to pick. He ain't going to give you the big plays. He's going to give you the smart plays. He's going to make you win money a little bit at a time, but you're always going to win.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Before we get on to the to our last team in the top 5 Canucks of all time, Brian, let's talk about all the great shows that we have here at A2D Radio. You want to start us off with a couple?
Yeah, man. Let's start with Mondays. You know, you got Mondays. You got we just added G Cobb. G Cobb's now part of A2D Radio, so you can catch him on Mondays. You got Here's the Thing with Mitch Williams and either Tom Arnone and Michael Chromiak, who they'll alternate, or sometimes you'll catch them both. You got Sports Sounds.
I like the triad.
The triad is so good. You got my man Brad at 7:30 on the Sports Hounds with Rob Brinkman and Doug Mankiewicz.
Yeah,
another
great show last night. I was tuning in.
Doug loves his Florida State Seminoles, man.
Yeah.
I
hope they win, because he's not going to be a happy camper if they lose to LSU, and that's going to be a tough game for them.
He was entertaining too, talking about the NFC West there too. Like you're like, do we have to?
It's like, we have to go through the whole NFL. You know, it is what it is. We have to. It's our responsibility to cover the whole league. So
yeah, buddy.
Then on Tuesdays you got Rob Ellis show followed by us. Rob Ellis always brings on a great guest. He does a great interview. You know, where did they came from, this, that, and the other. Great show he did this afternoon or this morning with Al Morgani. So definitely check him out every Tuesday. Then you got us. Wednesday you have it's HUD Wednesday nights, and I'm blanking on the other show that happens on Wednesday. Oh, you also have the Rivals on Monday as well. A lot of shows here. Thursdays is our NFL days. You got Paul Domovich Wednesday afternoons. Paul Domovich. And then Thursdays you have.
I knew you'd get there.
Oh, I'm getting there. Don't worry. There's a lot to remember up here. And then on Thursdays you have. Dude, I need to. You have Les Bowen. You have Vetted. You have the both guys at 9:30, 9:45. You have. I did say Vetted. You got Marcus Thomas going on Pro Fan Talk. So we got a lot going on here. In His Very Ring on Fridays. There's a lot. HUD on Sundays with Nate Money Moss on the Money Pot podcast. Let's go. Oh,
don't forget Marcus.
Oh, yeah, that's Pro Fan Talk on Thursday.
Pro Fan Talk. I call it Pro Fam Talk. It's Pro Fan Talk, but it's all about the fam. Hell yeah.
Oh,
my man Marcus, man. Yo, his YouTube clips on fire. You know, like talking like I just love all the former players we got here talking. You know what I mean? Giving their insights. You know what I mean? Like you got some former player. We got Nate Moss chiming in, get my hockey knowledge up. Love SOG props, absolutely. It's time for Flyers to make it happen.
Yeah, we've got some good. We've got professional baseball players. We got professional football players. It's a nice group of guys now.
We're making moves here. We're making moves. Let's go. If you haven't subscribed, do that. Hit that. Catch all our live content on YouTube, Facebook, the the platform formerly known as Twitter. You can't catch us live. Catch us on anywhere you get your podcasts. We're everywhere, baby. ATG taking over. Let's go.
Hey, I figured it out. I figured out what the new insignia for the site formerly known as Twitter means, right? It means 10 times slower than it used to be. That's what it means.
Sounds about right.
But my top 5 all-time favorite Canucks players are, I'm going to lead it off with number 5, Trevor Linden. Number 4, Pavel Bure, the Russian Rocket. Number 3, Marcus Naslund. I got there, one of my favorite players for the Canucks. Number 2, you got to put Roberto Luongo. I mean, he was phenomenal between them. Best time, or their all-time best goaltender, in my opinion. And number 1 is the Sedin twins. Yeah, I know it's cheating putting them both at number 1, but they did both come from the same egg. So
Okay.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, I had them too. I mean,
Cool.
I don't have Daniel and Henrik separate. I have them together.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll go.
So I'll jump in. I'll go next real quick.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Number 5, I got Pavel Bure, and I'm really upset I didn't put Roberto Luongo on my list, but it is what it is. Number 4, I got Marcus Naslund. Number 3 is where I put the Sedin twins. Number 4, I got Alex McGillney. Had a great little stint there with the Vancouver Canucks.
Yes, sure.
And number 1, and this is where Brad might judge me a little bit. This is where I put Mark Messier. Mark Messier to me is he's one of the better Canucks. I know it was towards the end of his career, but I really enjoyed watching him play for the Vancouver Canucks. You know, I don't know if I told you guys this story, but you know, him and the Vancouver Canucks were the first team that I've ever got to see live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
So I got to see him with McGillney, and I believe Bure was still playing at the time. So that was my first game, was against the Vancouver Canucks. So I got to see a couple of the greats to do it.
you know what we used to call McGillney in New York? Air
Scum?
McGillney. Because he was afraid to fly in airplanes. Just to be an idiot, you know.
It happens. What are you going to do?
Yeah, it is what it is. Okay,
All right,
so
Brad.
you guys will love my picks because they're ridiculous, but that's okay. Obviously, I can't leave Bure off, and I can't leave the Twins off. So we'll have them as 1 and 1A, or 2, excuse me, 1, 2, and 2A. Okay. Then number 3, and you'll love this guy because he's just my type of player, Sergio Momesso.
Oh,
Momesso,
that's
one of the dirtiest, nastiest players I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Just his filth is just the kind of player that every team needs to win a Stanley Cup. Did I say Trevor Linden?
no.
No, Trevor Linden and Richard Brodeur from that first Canuck team that made the finals but lost to the Islanders. I know, yes, you had Roberto Luongo. I get it. But, Roberto Luongo also played for a really good team. Richard Brodeur took that team on his back.
Sure.
And really, they didn't have that much talent on that team. And he got them all the way to the finals. And then finally, that great Islander team took care of them. But, boy, what a run that was.
I can't hate on that list. I don't think I can find anything to pick on you about. I think that's a pretty solid list.
It's just it's not like their greatest players ever. It's my favorite Canucks. And I think my favorite Canuck of all time had to have been Sergio Momesso, because that guy, he would have been a great flyer in the 70s. Let's be honest. He belonged on your team, on your bad boys team from the 70s, because he did all the obnoxious, rude, nasty things that they did, and he'd never have to fight. He'd sneak a stick on you. He'd give you an elbow. He was like Esa Tikkanen, except he was worse.
Ooh.
Yeah, because Esa Tikkanen would be doing it and laughing. This guy, I could see his eyes rolling in the back of his head sometimes. some of the stuff he used to do.
I see some family folk peeking out at you, Brian. So we're gonna let you go for the evening. I'm gonna wrap up this affair. Talk about, hey, if you want to go on vacation like Brian is on vacation right now, check out Alonze Travel, specializing in creating the vacation of your dreams at Disney, Universal, or wherever your heart calls you. Let their talented team, which includes Ritz from in this very ring, as well as Chuck's on Birds of a Feather on Thursday nights, who will be, maybe with us soon enough. Little tease there. I won't say any more, Brian. But either way, you let Alonze's talented team of travel experts create a custom vacation for you without any of the stress. Tell them A2D Radio sent you. Obviously, they're going to take care of you with our boys there. Alonze, let's go. AlonzeTravel.com/take the trip. Also, you want to be a member here at A2D Radio? Let me tell you how to do it. $9.99 a month. You can get some amazing perks, including shout-outs, members-only shows, appearances, and weekly picks from the Money Pot podcast. Join today. The link's in the comments. $9.99. It's a steal. Absolute steal.
Yeah, now's the time to do it because, like I said, it's football season. Nate's going to win you some green.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Absolutely. So we got two. What else is coming next week? We got two more teams for the Pacific. We got Seattle and
Seattle, San Jose.
Seattle and San Jose. I like the S's.
Oh yeah, we got to Anaheim. Okay.
Yep.
Definitely. So we'll be.
We got left.
Yeah, we'll be wrapping up Seattle. Talking about the Kraken, who made a great, playoff run themselves this year. Can they repeat? San Jose, are they going to be for sure 8th place team in this division? It's kind of looking that way, but we're going to get into it. Hopefully, Matty will be back to defend, make a case for his San Jose Sharks next week. But for Ralph Del Vecchio bringing us to you tonight on Ones and Twos, special thank you as always, Ralphie. For Brad Ryder, Brian Daly, I'm Rob Povey. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next week on Hockey Happy Hour, only on A2DRadio.com. Peace.